Hey everybody, this is TJR.
And this is Robert Kinsler.
And, it's the 50th anniversary of Led Zeppelin. And Jimmy Page has made, some cryptic promises that we're going to be seeing some exciting things this year. We've already been given the announcement of The Song Remains the Same, the concert motion picture, and the soundtrack getting re-released. And in multiple number of formats, which I did a video on, the various different configurations you'll be able to get with this, depending on your bankroll. And this, of course, begins the rumor mill about Led Zeppelin getting back together. And about 2 to 3 days ago, I guess Robert Plant was asked about this, as he is on many, many occasions. And his remark was that if it happened, it would be in I think the word was a chip shop in Camden, which I guess is the kind of, from what I can gather from the news articles, they don't specifically state it, but all the headlines say, Plant says Led Zeppelin will get back together in a fast food joint. It's not along those lines. So I'm guessing a chip shop is a kind of a fast food place?
Or maybe like chips or something. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know that. Maybe it's British or something. Or,
I'm assuming it's a British thing, and that we Yanks just don't quite get it.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm gathering. But he was very flippant about it. And, of course, these rumor mills appear from time to time.
They sure do.
Led Zeppelin has not performed since the Atlantic Records Ahmet Etrigan tribute that they did a number of years ago. Well, actually, this got us thinking about other reunions and who might get back together, who we'd like to see.
And what other groups people would want to see get back together. I mean, I'm thinking whoever thought Guns N' Roses with Axl and Slash would get back together, and that has been a hugely lucrative. I mean, they not only played at Coachella, I saw them there, then I saw them at Dodger Stadium. I mean, Guns N' Roses minus Slash was playing in relatively small places. Now they're playing huge music festivals, huge arenas and stadiums. I mean, it's a whole different world now for them.
And that's not even the original lineup per se, not even the secondary lineup before the big breakup. But let's talk about Led Zeppelin first. And Robert, what do you think the chances are?
I truly think Robert Plant is one of these guys, kind of like Morrissey, and the reason why I don't think the Smiths will ever get back together. I just think that and I don't know the reason, I don't know if he feels like artistically he just doesn't want to go back, or... and this is not being cruel. I don't know if he thinks his voice is capable of doing that canon of songs, night after night.
Yeah,
I just don't know.
He's had a very successful solo career.
I think he's been very successful artistically, and like I said, I have an enormous amount of respect for Robert Plant.
And definitely, I agree about Robert Plant as far as his solo career, but I don't think your comments about his voice are cruel. I think it's practical. I think Robert Plant knows this. He's never stated it publicly, but I get the feeling that he is mature enough that he knows I don't have the voice that I did in my 20s or in my 30s. And it's one thing to do a one-off show and sing that canon of material and do it justice, which he did.
Right, Celebration Day, right?
Yeah, which he did on that tour. Now it's just not tour, but on that
occasion.
Yeah, that one occasion a few years back, 2007, I believe it was.
Yeah.
But to do it like you said, night after night, or even not after night, even like night every other night.
Right.
I think that maybe he feels that he may not have what it takes to be able to do that continuously for like 6 months or a year.
Exactly.
Or whatever the tour demands. Although there have been a few moments where we got maybe a contradictory statement from him, because I think it all depends on him. The other band members have said they're willing to do it. Page, John Paul Jones, and then of course
Jason Bonham too.
Bonham, yeah, for his father.
Yeah, he would. I saw him do his Led Zeppelin tribute, and you could see he's more than ready to go out there and pound some skins to those songs. You know. Yeah.
I think it all depends on Robert Plant.
Yeah.
And there was a moment there where not too long after that one tribute show, where sometime after that, I remember he made some statement of, well, I'll be done with this tour that I'm doing for this album, and then I'm going to have this space of time where nothing's going on, where I'm available. Almost as if he might be willing to do it, but then it didn't happen.
Right. Right.
So who knows? But I would say chances are no. I would say 90% chance no. That's not part of the 50th anniversary. I'll be real shocked if it is.
Yeah. And I have to say here, maybe the last thing to say about them in particular is that because I think it was a Live Aid performance where they didn't sound, the one back in the mid 80s,
yes,
where they just didn't, and you think about it, it's very easy to tarnish your legacy and really diminish all the magic and the mystery and just all the incredible, how do you even say, I mean, Led Zeppelin just has this mythos that is so enormous, and to risk that when these guys obviously don't need the money, so it's not. Why would you do it? Because he's artistically still, exploring new territory, and people love him. His show, people are going to see him. He doesn't need to go back. So my advice to him, if I'm his manager, which I'm not or anything like, would be, you don't need, Led Zeppelin had its time and it was great. You don't necessarily need to go back.
Yeah. I would agree with that. And you're right. I remember after that Live Aid show, many, many, many moons ago, there was a lot of disappointment over that performance.
There sure was.
Maybe not everybody watching now remembers it, and this was before the internet age.
Yeah.
But every musician I talked to joked about that performance.
Yeah.
And I remember Robert Plant afterwards, he remarked, and of course, Jimmy's guitar had to be out of tune.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and they made up for it when they did a performance sometime after, but before the most recent reunion.
Uh-huh.
The first time they had Jason Bonham on drums. That was the first time they did that. There was an Atlantic Records anniversary party.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
They made up for a lot of what happened.
They did. And that's what I'm saying right now, because of that one performance, like you're saying, about 10 years ago, that was such an amazing performance and showcase that they could come back. It's like you're not going to outdistance that performance here. So to me, why not leave it at that they came back, they did, they were incredible. They celebrated their legacy. They proved that this is timeless music, and these guys had a unique chemistry and were groundbreaking hard rock musicians. Why mess with that? There's not really, to me, a lot to be gained, because as we've discussed before, people don't want these classic rockers to come back and be doing new music generally. They really struggle to get that stuff on the radio. So I just don't know what the big win for Led Zeppelin would be in 2018 or 2019. Yeah. I just don't know what it would be.
There are two things I want to say to what you just said.
Okay.
One, the Atlantic Records anniversary performance helped make up for the Live Aid performance.
It did.
But
it did.
The 07 performance, the recent one that became the Celebration Day release on Blu-ray and CD and DVD,
right,
that cemented the legacy.
That cemented, that's what,
completely re-cemented it again. And I would say go out on a high note.
Yeah. And that was, it sounds great. We have it as a great document. People can see, hey, what was it like if they came back? Well, they did come back, and here's what it was. And with the home theater systems and stuff, and I know it's not the same as being there.
No.
But, it's a great way to experience it, Yeah. And maybe the closest analogy might be what Queen's done, where they came back with Paul Rodgers, and they now come back with Adam Lambert. Mm-hmm. And it's not that they're tarnishing their legacy, but I do know some Queen fans that are adamant, like, even as much as they may have loved Paul Rodgers, and they say, hey, Adam Lambert has done a great job of kind of at least hitting the high notes, and he's that flamboyant personality like Freddie Mercury was. It's still not the same. It's like what we're talking about. There, like Paul McCartney and George Harrison and Ringo might have played with somebody else, but it wouldn't have been the same as it was with John Lennon.
Yeah.
When you have a great band like that, and everybody's involved in kind of making the music and arranging the music, things are going to happen, and they change it.
Yeah. And that's why Queen has never called it Queen since.
That's right.
They called it Queen and Paul Rodgers.
Right,
Queen
exactly.
And Adam Lambert. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've never tried to call it Queen, and that was a very wise move on their part.
It was.
But that aside, though, You were mentioning you didn't. Let's talk about who might get back together, who has gotten back together, who we'd like to see back together.
Well, I think let's first talk about, because I think like we talked about GNR earlier, and you never would have thought they would have. Yeah. But another interesting, and not that it never would have happened, but showing that as the years go by and a lot of these musicians are into their 60s and 70s, they're saying, hey, this is our last chance to maybe celebrate our legacy. So for example, you have in 2018 Roger McGuinn and Chris Hillman are going out on the 50th anniversary of the release of Sweetheart of the Rodeo, which was that seminal Byrds album where Graham Parsons joined the band, and they kind of charted new territory with alternative country rock. And so I guess they're gonna be out telling stories about the album and also playing those songs. So but some of the groups that we haven't heard from or we don't know, the Smiths is the one that always comes to mind. People so much want Morrissey and Johnny Marr to get back together again. I simply don't think that's ever going to happen, because Morrissey is such a he just doesn't want anything to do with those guys. Even though he continues to play Smith's songs at every concert, it's like he's cut ties with all the other three original members of the Smiths, and that's unfortunate, because I think that would be a band that would still sound amazing, and people would love to see back together. And they had such a short shelf life in the beginning. I'm not as familiar with the Smiths as you are. Is there some kind of bad blood with them? Oh, very bad blood, and I don't know all the particulars, but yeah, they broke up. I want to say in 1987, and immediately parted ways. And there's never even been talk from Morrissey about wanting to reteam with Johnny Marr or the other guys and do anything. And Morrissey's got a very steady career. He's had a lot of artistic growth on his own. He has. He has. And of course, and Johnny Marr, as we've talked about recently, has done so many. Not only is his solo career going gangbusters, but he's performed with the Pretenders and and he's had all these other amazing things that he's done over the years and done it. He just seems to be into the thrill of making music and playing guitar. So I don't think it has to be within the Smiths. He's just as happy to do that somewhere else. So there's not any big thing pushing them to get back together. Yeah, I like the Johnny Marr albums. Of course, you brought them on the show. You've made me a fan, and I'm more familiar with Johnny Marr than I am the Smiths. But at some point, maybe I should listen to the Smiths. Yeah, you should. I would recommend that. One question I want to ask you: you brought up the Byrds album. Now, they're not touring as the Byrds, though, correct? No, they're not. They're not. And I don't know if there's any talk of like David Crosby or the other guys. Because there were different members that would go in and out. Like Graham Parsons came in, I think, after David Crosby left. I don't remember the exact chronology, but if you go to Wikipedia and see the Byrds, I mean, there is a large number of people that performed with the band, both in their earliest days and later on. And there was some reunions of some of the members where they did call it the Byrds, I think through the 70s and beyond, maybe even into the 80s. I never caught any of those Byrds versions. The other group that we talked about that I think it's funny, like a group like New Order, where Peter Hook left and New Order has continued, and so Peter Hook is out there playing New Order songs, and the other guys from New Order are playing, and I think people would like to see them together. But is it essential? I mean, maybe not. I don't. There's some things like that you hear about, or like we talked about before we filmed today, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, with the whole thing of a Trump presidency, have them put aside some of their personal differences and fighting to get back together, because they're kind of seen as kind of this great force when it comes to commenting on political issues and environmental issues. Would those four guys get back together? Crosby, I don't know. And Young, correct? Yeah. Okay. Crosby, Stills, not Crosby, Stills and Nash. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Because when they all four of them play, because of Neil Young brings so much gravitas to the project, I think they're a lot more recognized. He just brings this dynamic ferocity to everything that he does anyway. Even when he did that short-lived Buffalo Springfield reunion, I mean, just Neil Young is so passionate that he makes everybody around him better. Huh. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. But they're that's okay. Either. They're not speaking to each other either, are they? No, as far as I mean, I think some of them do talk to each other, but I think there's no talk of all four of them getting together again. But I wonder if that might happen. I mean, these guys are all getting older. David Crosby's had some serious health issues, as we know. Neil Young had the brain related. I mean, you just wonder if these guys could set aside their differences and one more time in the 21st century make another great album and maybe go on a big tour together.
At least make an album.
At least make an album.
Together, which I never expected. And they did. The Police got back together. I would have liked it if they'd made an album, but instead,
I sure wish that would have happened. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. You know, it's funny. As I think about this question, who would I like to see get back together? I really can't think of anybody that I think, oh, I need to see them get back together again. I really can't off the top of my head. And like you, I don't think it's even Led Zeppelin. I don't think it's necessary that Led Zeppelin get back together and tour. I mean, yes, if they were, I'd probably want to try to go see it. Of course. I don't know if I could afford the tickets. The tickets would probably be outrageous. Right. But there's nobody I need to see get back together. But what do you think? What if this? What if Led Zeppelin, instead of getting back together for a tour, got back together for an album, a studio album?
That I would be much more excited about.
Yeah.
A Led Zeppelin album, because then it's like the case with Bono. Like on any given night, and we've both seen U2 recently. On any given night, Bono can sound pretty good, but he's never going to sound as great anymore night after night as he does on an album, where he can rest his voice. And when he has to hit those really high soaring notes, he can rest up and he can hit those. Where sometimes when you see him live, he either clips the notes or he backs up from the microphone and kind of just doesn't do it.
Yeah.
So I could see on an album to hear those guys get together. I would be very excited by a Led Zeppelin album. And kind of like what the Beatles did at the end of their career, they stopped touring, they stopped playing live, other than the famous rooftop scene in Abbey Road. Other than that, after that Candlestick Park show, what was that, 66, 67, they didn't tour anymore. They just focused solely on, Sgt. Pepper's and the White Album and all that stuff. I would love to see Led Zeppelin do that same thing.
I think the whole world, or the majority of the whole world, agrees with you on that.
Yeah.
And including myself, I would be much more excited about that. The reunion tour, although I would be excited, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I really don't. I think it's pretty.
I don't either.
Chances are nil. If they really wanted to really pull the rug out from under us on the 50th anniversary and just shock the hell out of everybody, that would be the thing.
Yeah. Well, you remember, and it would be fun, and of course maybe we're feeding them ideas, but in 2017. Styx came out with an album that they had been recording in secret, and Styx is a band that plays, I want to say, 150 dates a year. They're always touring. They roll through Orange County pretty frequently.
Yeah.
And they came out with this mind-boggling, great album. One of the best albums, as far as in my mind, that they ever did. It was a great concept album. They sounded great songs. I would love for Led Zeppelin, even if they did it in secret, and all of a sudden they surprise the world, give them a great gift, and all of a sudden we get a new EP, or better yet, a full-length album of new Led Zeppelin materials. Maybe even it's something like the Stones did with that, what was it, Blue and Lonesome, where they covered. But maybe Led Zeppelin pays tribute to some of their influences, and they even do a covers album,
Even that.
So that would be great. I think people would love to hear those guys in the studio together again.
Yeah.
And Jason Bonham sure delivers on what his dad did. He's an amazing drummer.
Yes. We got a little hint of what a Led Zeppelin, like a new Zeppelin album might have been like back when Page and Plant released No Quarter.
Right.
Or some original songs with them. And there was a second Page and Plant album entitled, I keep wanting to say Last Train to Clarksville. But I know that's a Monkey song.
It's a Monkey song,
But there is a page. Let me look it up real quick. But Clarksville was in the title. And let me just do a quick look here for that real quick, because I know that.
And I think Clark's, if I'm not mistaken, Clarksville isn't.
Clarksdale was the name of
Clarksdale, okay.
Clarksdale, there we go. And we got a hint of it with that album, too. And so the fact, I don't think it's impossible for those two, Page and Plant, to make music again. John Paul Jones has done side projects, creative side projects. And of course, we've already talked about how awesome, Jason Bonham is. So the idea of them making an album is not to me like something that would be impossible.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think, and I didn't even think about this before we started this show, but that would be like the most amazing thing for the 50th anniversary.
I agree. I agree.
That
And you listen no further than that great Monkees come back as well. I mean, I know I mentioned Styx, but who knew where they, and that was where they got some young fans, members of like Fountains of Wayne and members from Weezer and stuff, and they came back and joined with the Monkees and did some new recordings. They even, I think, rescued some older recordings, so even Davy Jones was on the album. But that was an amazing album, and I know a lot of critics said it was one of the best ever Monkees albums. So, I mean, Led Zeppelin are definitely worthy of that kind of return via some kind of creative thing, whether it's like we both talked about, if it's all new material, if it's a combination of new and covers. But I think everybody would love to hear it, and I know that I think there'd be a lot of excitement on their part once they got in the studio and really explored what they could come up with.
Yeah. I mean, I would settle for the covers album. I'd be happy with that, but I really would, even if it was just an EP, like you're saying, 4 songs. I think we'd all be just thrilled to death if that could happen.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
We never got a Police album out of that reunion. We got it to tour.
Yeah.
And but we never got an album. For new original music. And
that's actually very sad that we didn't.
I would have rather had that than the tour.
I agree.
Okay.
Well,
let's ask everybody out there what you think. Is there anybody you'd like to see get back together? How would you like to see them get back together? Would you want to see them tour, or would you just like them to see them make one more album? Let us know in the comments. And I have a feeling, like I said, I'm sure Plant's comments, I think, pretty much say it all as far as them touring again. But now that we've had this discussion, I filled myself with some kind of hope that maybe we'll see something recorded. I better not get my hopes up too high.
Yeah. Don't get your hopes up, but who knows? It'd be nice to be pleasantly surprised, wouldn't it?
It'd be nice. It would be nice.
Yeah.
But anyways, though, cool discussion, and everybody tell us what you think, and we'll look forward to checking out your comments. And as always, my name's TJR.
And my name's Robert Kinsler.
And we'll see y'all soon. Take care.
See you later, everybody.
Bye.